This year, as on 3 previous occasions, Hall High School's concert jazz band singers and dancers took off during the spring vacation on a 2-week concert tour of Europe. Our 1980 trip began at Kennedy Airport in New York and took us via Sabena Airlines over 2,000 miles of ocean on a 7-hour flight to Brussels, Belgium.
We're on Sabena Airlines flight 548 after 6.5 hours flying toward Brussels, headed for Europe. Whipper, how was your breakfast this morning?
Oh, it was simply delicious.
Scott, how was your breakfast? Well, Scott, thank you very much for that lucid answer.
The hard rolls were fantastic. I mean, they should have passed out saws.
Scott, how was your breakfast? Carol, I know that you're a student of French. Did you watch the movie in French? And what was the movie, by the way?
The Muppet movie. No, I did not watch it in French. You don't need words for Muppets.
I'm sure those answers came about because people are tired after 6.5 hours of sleep and no sleep. Are you all ready to land, though, in Europe?
Where? No, what up?
At Brussels, we picked up our chartered bus and equipment van and headed down the autoroute for Paris, our first stop. After dinner in the university section and our first good night's sleep in 2 days, we headed for the sights.
Courtyard of the Louvre, which we passed through last night. And to the right is the Tuileries Gardens, the Jardin des Tuileries. Tuileries Gardens lead all the way down to the Place de la Concorde.
I remember them saying to us, okay, you've got 1 hour, go see the Louvre. At first I tried looking at all the painting, but then I realized that there was no way in an hour I could possibly see any of the art. So I really ran outside and I looked all around the exterior and looked at the flowers.
Well, the Louvre is an old French palace and it is really huge. You can't see the Louvre in a day. You've got to spend a week there probably to see everything the way I would like to see it. We saw lots of Renaissance art and I was overwhelmed by some of it. It was just beautiful stuff, and especially impressed by the large paintings by Rubens, I think it was, that covered entire walls. Some of the paintings were 30 feet by 40 feet. We didn't get very much time in it. We got enough time just to get a flavor of what it's like in there, and I think we did that pretty well.
It was beautiful because that was all you could grasp within an hour.
It's just good to say you've seen it.
Now, the reason they're called Bateau Mouche simply is because Mr. Mouche is the owner. That's all. This is not the first Gothic cathedral, but Gothic architecture began in this area. This is the Ile-de-France, and the first one was Saint-Denis, which is about 10 miles outside the city. However, this is the most well-known of all Gothic cathedrals. Please understand that the Gothic cathedral style is an effort to get more height and more light into the inside of the church. So in order to do that, they had to do away with the massive utilization of thick walls. Okay? It's the Cathedral of Paris, probably begun about the end of the 12th century, and finished, the last part of it finished in the end of the 14th century. So it has it has the beginnings of Gothic architecture, and the spire there is flamboyant style.
On the outside, Notre Dame is this beautiful, light, uplifting structure, but when you go inside, it's a tremendous base. And when you enter, the first thing you see are candles that have been lit in memory of relatives. And the best part inside is the rose windows. There's these huge, probably 40-foot stained glass windows in the design of flowers. The main color is purple in them, and when the sun hits them, it's an incredible sight.
We had that first afternoon in Paris to ourselves, to walk in the Tuileries, to have lunch on the Seine, to shop or just park at a sidewalk cafe and people watch. That night brought us our first concert in a small town outside the city, and by Sunday morning we were out again, climbing the steps of Montmartre.